keeping well and you're all set for a simple door swag arrangement, which is what we had promised that we demonstrate for you today. But first of all, what's the weather like where you are? Because it is pure shite up here in Dublin, I have to say. Miserable all day, you know what I mean? Sky is dark, grey. It's raining, it's stopping, it's raining, it's stopping. You wouldn't know what way it's going to go. So let us know where you're watching in from and obviously what's the weather like. Now we are going to have a couple of giveaways today and I want to give details of the competition, which I kind of gave you a sneaky peek at yesterday. So last Wednesday, can't believe it's only a week ago, but last Wednesday Deirdre and myself went up to Carlingford and we went up to O'Neill's Flowers. Somebody might tag them there in the comments, so put the @ O'Neill's Flowers. And this is a supplier. To be honest, they're kind of they're a bit of jack of all trades, aren't they, dear?
Yeah.
Like they had a coffee shop, they had a flower shop, they had a garden centre. You could pick your own strawberries, you could pick your own pumpkins, and it was a flower wholesaler, all in the one place. I'm going to say flower wholesaler, but also sundry wholesaler. Now I know a lot of you to be watching, and we're often demonstrating things and I'd say, oh, you can buy them in your local florist, but I think what seems to be the problem is some flower shops, some of them now, not obviously any of our past students, but some flower shops are a little bit mean and they won't sell you the stuff, you know, that way, which is ridiculous. And then obviously you have wholesalers, and wholesalers are strictly trade only, so obviously the general public can't walk in off the street and buy their stuff. But O'Neill's Flowers, even though it's a wholesaler, they do sell to the general public. So it means if you want a block of oasis or a box of oasis, you'll be able to go in there. So we did about 10 or 12. They all haven't been posted. We still have loads more of them to post. We did a couple of short little videos on the different aisles and the different sections in the wholesalers, just to give you an idea of what kind of stock that they have available, let you have a sneaky peek, a kind of like look inside, a little bit of a nose, and then also hopefully gave you a few ideas of how you could use the items. Now what they did was they gave us this amazing toolbox to offer as a giveaway, a prize, you know, that way, to our followers. Now I know somebody messaged me and she said, is it open to everybody even outside Ireland? Absolutely, you know what I mean? Anybody that follows Case Flower School page, but also O'Neill's Flowers, so you need to be following both pages, you know, that way, will be eligible to enter this competition. So how is it going to work? Well, I'll tell you how it's going to work in a few minutes. I want to show you what's in the box, okay? Because yesterday I said I needed to organise a little bit, you know, that way, and I wanted to add a few little items into it as well. But like when we have our Module 1 students, and we actually had Module 1 students start today. Now obviously it's too late to join up. This course is completely booked up. But our next Module 1 is starting on the 12th of October. Now I'm not giving you as a hint or a tip, you know, that way, but I try and remember that date because you never know when I might ask a question later on. So the next Module 1, wink wink, starts on the 12th of October. But anyway, back to the Module 1 students, I often advise them is to get themselves a toolbox, especially when they go off-site. Everything is hunky-dory when you're working in your flower shop, your home-based studio, or your bedroom or your kitchen, whatever, and you have all the items beside you. But suddenly you go off-site, you're doing a wedding or an event or whatever it might be, and you're there saying, if I had another wire, or if I had a little bit of this, or if I had a little bit of that, you know, that way. So I do recommend to the students get themselves a toolbox. And this is an idea. And by the way, as far as I know, O'Neill's has these for sale, right? So now it's not closing because I put a few extra things into it. It was closing yesterday, but I will pack it up neater before I post it out to whoever wins it. So like you have all your little sachets of food. Now this is actually the liquid food, and mostly when I show flower food, I show kind of like the little granule ones, the sugar ones, you know, but these are perfect as well. Obviously they come out easier. Also Oasis Fix, okay? So we use that for our frog's legs, which is also part of this kit as well. In here we have our German pins, or our mossing pins. So we use these for pinning the ribbon around the outside of the wreaths, but we also use it for mossing, for pinning moss onto floral oasis, you know what I mean, to kind of hide it. There's more flower foods over here. Now we put these in. We always say you should have plasters with you, you know, that way. The amount of times, like, you know what I mean, that we have been at demonstrations or at events and I have cut my finger. Deirdre nearly slit her wrist one time. She gave herself such a nasty cut. And the funny thing about that, we were actually in, what was it, the blood transfusion?
Blood transfusion place, yeah,
We
doing
were
a
doing
demo.
a demonstration down near where the Irish Concert Hall is. And would you believe it? I'm going to hang them here with health and safety. They hadn't got a first aid box, and of course we had no plasters, you know that way. So always stick a selection of plasters in your toolbox. Now, the great thing about a toolbox is you have the little sections, you see that lifts out. Now what we have here is a selection of wires. Now I didn't put them into these containers, but I think these containers are brilliant. So where the silver wires in that one, I'm not sure, but I presume it's 22s and 20s in green wires there. And they have, like say, the black stub wires. But these little holders are brilliant, you know that way, because obviously you can top them back up again, you know that way, as you empty them. And you could probably stick a sticker on it for speed when you're lifting it out of the toolbox. Now I put in the little lollipop sticks, you know, the waxing sticks, because we use these at the end of the candles, you know, like bigger candles. And sometimes you'd be trying to join two pieces of floral foam together at an event, or sometimes a piece of floral foam breaks, and this is absolutely brilliant. It acts like a splint to join them back up together. Again, candle holders, sometimes a candle breaks and you need a candle holder. Frog's legs, or Cindy stools, or prongs, everybody has a different name for them. And in the lid was the Oasis sticks. Cable ties. You never know, you'll be there somewhere and you're trying to tie something on and the ribbon maybe isn't strong enough. Cable ties are great, and at least if you have the long ones, you can join two together to make them a little bit longer. And when you're at an event, always a customer is going to come along and say, I love the flowers that you did, have you got your business card? So I have your business card. So that's in that section. Now I just threw the roll of ribbon in. I always kind of either a white or an ivory ribbon, always have one on you. Again, it'll get you out of a hole. If you're going on your holidays, you could make a bow, tie it on the roof of your car, or tie the ribbon on your suitcases. I've talked about that plenty of times before. And like even there during the summer, my younger son's girlfriend Juliana, they were going on holidays, and she said, any chance of making us the bows? And it was gas, like she videoed, you know that way, putting the bows on the conveyor belt in Dublin Airport. And then when they arrived in Spain, off came all their suitcases with the bows, you know that way. I always kind of feel it's a lucky charm, you know that way, when you put a bow on a suitcase, touch wood, we've never lost a suitcase. Now I just threw this in as a guppy, okay? And it's not that you'd be stuck for this when you're at an event, but they are hard to get because it's a Canadian company who actually makes them, and not all the wholesalers sell them. Maybe O'Neill's might get them in. So I just stuck it in. We use these for foam-free arrangements, but also for foam-free wedding bouquets. We covered it on module 3. So obviously we had to put in a Case Flower School apron, do you know that way? So there is our logo. I put a green one in. We do have them in black as well. Little water vials. You always need water vials, you know the way. And again, if you were doing a pew end, or maybe you needed to kind of get a flower in, or you broke a flower, you broke the stem, you could always put the shorter stem into a water vial, strap it onto one of them lollipop sticks, the water vial, and then you've got an extra bit of length or an extra bit of height, or you could use wires. Like there's loads of things. Talk about like looking on the dark side. I always try and think of the worst case scenario, and like over our years of experience, we have come across, well, like hopefully everything at this stage, but like, you know what I mean, things have happened to us that probably hopefully never happened to you. But I go prepared. Like you think I was in the Boy Scouts, you know that way. What's that saying? Be prepared, fail to prepare,
prepare to fail.
Prepare to fail. I just stuck in one of the ropes because I'm using these today for the door swags, and we are going to be giving some of these away. So anybody that's watching, what are we going to, I think we'll run a competition for these ropes, okay? And you have to tell us what date the next module 1 is.
That's right.
Again, is a good hint there later on. Anyway, back to the box, okay? In the box, they have the Oasis floral scissors. Well, isn't this brilliant? I think we might keep this. In Oasis secateurs. Now, this is even better because I haven't got one of these. And Oasis wire snips. You know that we're coming up to Christmas. These are deadly little things. And again, an Oasis knife. You know what I mean? So they're worth a fortune, they are, like them alone. A little tin, and look at the little baby tin of leaf shine. Oh. And again, if you're at a wedding or an event and you have everything set out, this is deadly. You're there, and it's like putting a bit of hairspray on you or dry shampoo before you go out. You know that way, just to freshen yourself up. The leaf shine is the same thing for flowers. It's like dry shampoo for flowers. It's a great way of freshening them up and makes everything sparkly and shiny and glossy looking. They've selection of the gutta tapes. Now, I always prefer the gutta perca, but they do have the, what's the other name called?
Stemtex.
No,
Parafilm.
Parafilm. I'm not mad about that one, but sure, listen, they're accounting for all taste there. They have a little baby roll of anchor tape. Again, like chances are you've already strapped your Oasis in, but you drove too fast, you came off the footpath, anchor tape came loose, it's handy to have a little bit of anchor tape. And look at the little igloo. These are great if you want to do a little arrangement on the top of a cake. Again, you can stick it onto something, but there's two little grips on either side of it. It's hard to see with cellophane on it. And you can tie it around a bottle. So any time of the year, but even Christmas time, if you want to add little flowers onto a bottle of wine, if you're given a bottle of wine, it can be a bottle of whiskey, a bottle of gin, a bottle of Bacardi, anything at all. It's a great way of tying them on. They're called igloos. Tube of floral glue. Now again, you've often seen me using the glue gun, but if you're at an event and you have to glue something, you won't be able to plug the glue gun in, do you know that way? So the tube of floral glue. A little packet of the pearl pins. Again, if you're at a wedding and you're trying to pin on buttonholes, and the thing about pearl pins is when they fall on the ground, well, if you have false nails like me, you can't pick them back up again, so it's always great to have a glue box of them. Loads of different types of real wires and silver wires and copper wires. Can't get them all here. Again, a selection of them, you know that way. Again, the real wire will do with the rope, you know what I mean, for making the door swag that we're demonstrating today. And a selection of hand-tied strings, okay? This is one we used to use years ago. The great thing about this one, well, first of all, I think there's 500 meters on it, where there's only 100 meters on that one. But it comes with its own little toggle. So what we used to do in the flower shop, we used to hang this up, okay? And it's a bit like the, you know, the hand towel, where I work the hand towel from the outside. But you know the way you're supposed to pull the inside out of the hand towel, you know, because it's an easier way of doing it. I never bothered, right? Well, it's the same thing with this hand-tied string, okay? Is you hang anybody in a flower shop, hang this up, get your fingers in there and try, good luck to you, try and find the beginning. So your string is coming down this way. So every time somebody wants a length of string, they can just pull this out rather than the rolling around the table. So,
Leah says it's like Mary Poppins' bag.
Yeah, and you know, there's loads more. Like with our students, we actually give them a list of, you know what I mean, and it's probably twice the length of that one there, you know what I mean, of what they should put in. Because I always say have a protein bar, you know the way, you'll be there and you'll be starving. And I also, a packet of either Anadins or Panadol. Obviously I can't put that medication into this box, but our toolbox, it'll be the very time you get a feckin' headache, you know that way when you're out. So that's the giveaway, and that's, we didn't, like, besides the things I put into it, but O'Neill's Flowers have sponsored that. So how do you enter the competition? Now, we're not really organised for it, but you have loads and loads of time, and you can enter as often as you wish, as many times as you wish. So how you enter is, first of all, you need to be following both pages. So O'Neill's Flowers and
on Instagram.
On Instagram and Kay's Flower School. We're not
so
doing
this,
on Facebook.
no, only
so
Instagram.
This is an Instagram competition. Okay?
That's what O'Neill's wanted.
Okay, so it's an Instagram competition. So you need to set up an Instagram account, anybody that's watching, get your kids to do it, your teenagers to do it. And anyway, you should all be over on Instagram. Instagram is the new thing now. Facebook is brilliant as well, but Instagram is definitely the way forward. So you need to follow, obviously, Kay's Flower School, and you need to follow O'Neill's Flowers. Now, on both of the pages will be, it's not up yet, will be a photograph of the toolbox, okay? So underneath that photograph, you're going to tag two people. And anybody, it can be your granny and your granddad, okay? You're going to tag two people. They don't necessarily have to like flowers, but it would be better if they liked flowers, okay? And every time you tag, so tag two people, and if you want to enter again tomorrow, you can tag two more people. And if you want to enter again the following day, you can tag two more people. So again, you can enter as often as you wish. And you can do that on both pages. You can tag on the O'Neill's Flowers page, and you can tag on the Kay's Flower School page. Now again, if anybody has any questions, put it in the comments. And
but it won't be posted. The picture won't be posted till later on today.
No, because like, you know what I mean, we're trying to get, we're up to our eyes, we're up to our tits in it today, we are. I'm going to push this out of the way. So today our module 1 started, you know that way, so it was quite busy. We had our bloom rooms, getting them all set up, getting them all sorted, and there could be some of them even watching here today. Now last week, somebody was asking me about these, IKEA 29. You can buy them online and they'll post them out to you. Or if anybody's going out to IKEA, picks them up and you'll be able to flog them to everybody else here, because we're always getting loads of messages about them. I won't need it today. Now, after the demonstration last Wednesday, where I did the hydrangea wreath with the flowers kind of going halfway, Lots of people were asking us any chance of doing the hydrangea wreath with them going all the way round, and I have one actually pre-recorded because we did one of them last year, so that's why I didn't do it this year. But I suppose we've lots of new followers, so everybody was asking about it. And the other thing is, do you remember about 2 weeks ago we did the rope and we did it with the dried wheat or barley or oats or a selection? Do you remember the dried flower one that I did? And lots of people were asking, can you do it in fresh? Now again, last year we actually did this in fresh flowers, and we did a video of actually tying it on Paul Kinsel's door, Life at number 2, and the video actually went viral. And I kind of felt, sure, 10 million people seen that video. You probably didn't need to see it again. But obviously we have new followers and they would like to see it again. So we are going to give away a couple of these ropes, you know what I mean? So
I have 3 so far.
Okay, so 3 people there so far. So what you need to enter is what date is the next module 1. And I'm not going to tell you again, do you know that way? So put the date in. I did say to you at the beginning, listen carefully. And we'll post you out the roller reel wire and the rope so that you can copy this yourself. Now you'll have to go and rob your own hydrangeas.
Dawn Flurry Taylor says that the Lazy Susan is $5.99 in B&M bargains. Now she has a sterling. So I'd say it must be in the UK. B&M bargains, $5.99.
If you have a link, is there any chance of putting the link in the comments, okay? Or even a bit more detail about where that place is. So because we have lots of UK followers, so that is a bargain. I know probably sterling is a bit more than euros, you know that way, but it's still working out cheaper than $9.99. So
that's why all the UK students are coming to Ireland to train, because they're getting such a bargain.
This is it. We had loads of UK students joining up today. We also had a module 3 starting today, by the way, which is obviously an advanced bridal floristry, wedding floristry course. Now, greenery wise, I forgot to bring in some greenery. I had eucalyptus at home in a bucket and I clean forgot to bring it in. But as you know, we've been working this week on some of our pre-recorded videos for the Christmas online program. So I had lots of Christmas spruce. So it's probably not the ideal thing to use, you know that way, but listen, I had it. Now, most of you won't be able to get spruce unless you have your Christmas tree grown in your garden. And the reason being, it's too early to pick it, you know that way. It's not really in season. And if you pick it now, it's probably not going to last. Now, you might say, well, how smart ass did I get it? The reason I got it was I got in touch with a grower and I said, I don't care that's not going to last. I need it for my videos so that when my students start in November, okay, that they will be able to watch all the tutorials, and once it comes into November, it will be time to cut the spruce, you know that way, and there won't be any problem. So I ended up with a bunch of spruce and a bunch of holly, you know that way, and obviously I couldn't use the holly with the hydrangeas, but I said that I'd use the spruce.
Caroline on Instagram says B&M is UK, various locations including Northern Ireland. So there you go.
There you go, fair play to you. And that's the great thing about our social media page. Everybody is so helpful, you know that way, great about sharing things. Now again, if there is anybody watching, especially anybody who's a trainee florist or a florist or doing courses with us or doing courses with someone else, and I have mentioned this group before, there's an absolutely fabulous group out there called the Floristry Coach. Somebody might tag them for me. So it's a Facebook group and it's run by an amazing lady called Viv Bradford. But I just noticed there today, because again, people are thinking about Christmas, and I suppose a lot of people seem to be using the spruce, and they're all asking about the spruce. And you know, I mean, obviously the growers were saying, no, you can't get spruce at the moment. And they were wondering, well, your one in Ireland got it. How did she get it? You know, that way. But Viv has started off a great thread about, you know, questions relevant. Now, this will only suit kind of florists, you know, the way. But questions relevant to Christmas, you know, Christmas wreaths, preparation, buying the stuff, when is the right time, when is the wrong time. There's loads of questions.
But Janette, if they were on our Christmas programme,
we're going to answer all them questions on our Christmas programme, absolutely. And the Christmas programme starts the 1st of November, but as we said yesterday, we're actually way ahead. We've added 3 more since yesterday, so I think we're up to 43 now, isn't it?
I think around that,
43 different practical, you know, flower arrangements, all geared towards Christmas, and that's not counting the theory classes. Obviously we have all the theory classes covering about marketing yourself, selling at Christmas markets, like all the questions that you have, you know, the way relevant to Christmas, that will all be covered.
And I think, you know, you probably should say about this year we've introduced the flare free section.
Yeah, so everybody's out there talking about phone free, but you know nobody's talking about flare free. So we have a whole section in our Christmas online program that's actually flare free. Now you might say, what the feck is that? They're Christmas arrangements without using any flowers, and they're absolutely
fresh flowers, yeah.
Fresh flowers, yeah. And they look absolutely gorgeous, and it's amazing. And the thing is, like, I'm not like trying to do, like, we've loads of designs using fresh flowers as well. The majority of the course is using fresh flowers. But the thing is, flowers are going so expensive. And the word on the street is they are going to go even more expensive. And there's going to be a huge shortage of the L chrysanthemum. Now, like, chrysanthemums, you'd kind of say, what the hell, you know, that way. I suppose it takes up so much space, hectares, acres, whatever way they kind of class it, growing chrysanthemums. And with the fuel prices, the poor growers in Holland, they cannot afford to heat up the glass houses, you know that way. So they're having to turn off the heating, and that in turn then affects kind of production. So they're only producing half the amount of flowers that they would have previous years. And obviously people still want to buy the flowers, so because the demand is there, the price actually goes up. The other thing is, some of the growers have decided, feck this, as we say, for Game of Soldiers, you know that way, and they're not going to grow any flowers this winter at all because it's just too cold. It's just not paying them to heat the glass houses, and some people are, you know, the public, the florists, are just not willing, or they just won't get their money back on it, you know that way. It is unfortunate, you know that way, but sure, we could say the same. We're all going to be sitting at home in our houses with 2 duffel coats on, 3 hats and 4 scarves, because we're not going to be able to heat our houses as well. It's just gone absolutely mad.
Caroline's just saying that B&M in the UK is basically home savers here, so she says they may have them.
There you go. Right, Judy Mackies are full of information. Okay, so I'm going to start off. So I'm getting my spruce, and I'm just going to put a small little piece of, I have a larger piece and a smaller piece, and I'm just going to rest them on the rope. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put one piece kind of like behind the rope, and a smaller piece just kind of on top of the rope there. Do you see, just to camouflage it. Now, I'm not going to do that to all the pieces, but I've just decided, I don't know why, I've just decided to do for that piece there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the real wire. So I didn't do a knot or anything. I just kind of held it with my thumb in the same spot. And you can see there, I'm kind of wrapping around really tight, okay? Wrapping it around 4 or 5 or 6 times. I've lost count, you know what I mean? So a couple of times kind of around there just to kind of secure it. And that's going to be the start of my swag. Now, normally, okay, spruce, I would say, would last for about 2 months, you know that way. But obviously the spruce at this time of the year, I'd say we'd probably get about 3 or 4 weeks out of it. This actually feels really hardy. This spruce came from Wicklow, so it's had the fierce of the weather, you know that way. So it is pretty hardy. But like later on, if you're using it, it'll be absolutely fine. But for the moment, like, use the ivy out of your own garden. You know, the wild ivy, or use your eucalyptus, or use a combination of both if you want.
Anne just wants to know, what gauge wire are you using today, and what's the best one for general use?
So the wire that's on them real wires is actually a 22 gauge, and I find that's fine. Like, any stiffer, any thicker, do you know that way, it's not really needed, and you might find it's kind of cutting your hand. But any lighter, so like if it was a 24 gauge, I find myself, I'm pretty strong, and when I be pulling it, I'd often snap it. I often snap these ones when I'm mossing something, you know, I pull it and I actually snap the wire, even though it is pretty strong. So I'd go for around a 22 if it was me. Now, I know in that toolbox there was rolls of silver wire and rolls of copper wire. They're all kind of for more fancy stuff.
Decoration,
like,
yeah.
Yeah, don't use them for this. They're more expensive, you know what I mean? If you got them for nothing and you want to use them, that's grand. But like, don't go out and buy them. Like, you're not going to see this. This is all kind of mechanics. Now, lots of questions last week about the hydrangeas. Some people were a little bit confused, okay? So with hydrangeas, so I cut these last night, and what I did was I took off all the big leaves, okay? I normally leave 1 or 2 smaller leaves up the top, and if you watch the online tutorials, you know, the way on the treatment and conditioning of flowers, we go through all that. And the reason is the leaves suck up the water, okay, more than the flower. It's actually the leaves that draws the water up the stem. So I didn't want the leaves drinking all the water, so that's why I got rid of all the big ones. But I left the little baby ones on because I wanted a bit of sucking happen there, do you know that way? So the baby leaves are still sucking the water up the stem, which brings them up to the actual flower heads. Now, when I picked these yesterday evening, it was about 6 o'clock yesterday evening, what I then did, I still have buckets of water in my driveway, I just dumped them, so just let them go down. Now be careful, don't shove them down into it, because what happens is you can damage the heads, you can break the heads, you know what I mean, they're quite delicate. So just kind of like put them in, and just gently, they nearly kind of sink down themselves. And when they're down under the water, do you know that way, I left them there till this morning. So this morning then, I took them out and I just left them all like standing on the driveway. And I was thinking I was putting stuff in the bin. So I came out, lifted all the hydrangeas out, and then Deirdre called to me and I brought her out a bag and I said, stick them into a bag. And then when I came into work this morning, because I knew I wasn't doing this till 12 o'clock, I just snipped the end of them and I just stood them in clean water. Do you know that way? So they're getting water from both ends. And what you'll find what will happen is that they're nice and hardy. You'll only get away with doing this at this time of the year. If anybody is watching this video at a later stage and decides to do a hydrangea swag in May or June, it's not going to last, okay? Unless you're in the Iceland, or you know, they need to be hardy, you know that way, where these are really hardy, where they've kind of went through the summer.
Siobhan just wants to know, she says her hydrangea is full of bugs. How could she get rid of them?
Well, when you put them down in the water, you'll see all the bugs doing the backstroke, the breaststroke, the butterfly, do you know that way? They'll be all floating at the top of the bucket. You can just scoop them out, put them into the garden, because I wouldn't say anything about killing bugs, you know that way? I'm all on for the bugs life.
Okay, Doran says, she's laughing here, Janette, you don't take a breath. No, she doesn't.
My mum says I should have went in for horse race commentary, you know that way? You know when they're kind of doing the commentary on the horse race and your man is talking about 1,000,000 miles a minute, you know that way? She says I can do the same.
Patricia over on YouTube wants to know, she wants to know, did we organise a date with O'Neill's? Are we going to go up to them? We're waiting on them to come back. Yeah.
We got an invite. Did we send back the RSVP?
We did. We just gave them back a few dates that they've to come back to us.
So we're waiting on them to come back to us, you know that way. So you need to organise your own bus now. I'll have enough to be doing now without organising a bus, you know. But because somebody was on to me saying, Janette, you're organising a bus. I'm in the arse, you know that way. Well, listen, you organise the bus and I'll meet you in the pub, you know that way. And I'll get a lift back home with you. Chances are I'll probably have to go up earlier kind of to get organised. So what I've just done there is I've just added in another little bit of the spruce at the back and another little bit of spruce to see at the front. And now what I'm going to do is add on another head. So when I was picking the hydrangeas, I kind of picked 5 big ones and I picked 2 small ones, but I only needed 1 small one because I wanted to start kind of with a smaller head. So now this one has a little bit of brown on it. So obviously take off any brown bits because they're not going to get rid of, you know, they'll stay there. And I'm going to place this head up close to it, you know the way. Now somebody was saying that to me this morning, that she had gaps in between her hydrangeas. You need to kind of like push them up close because what will happen as they dry out, they'll actually shrink as well and the gap will actually get bigger. The other thing somebody was saying to me was that her hydrangeas were the size of dinner plates, you know that way. And when she was doing them on the wreath, you know that way, it wasn't working. So them wire rings that I showed you last week, you can buy them in different sizes. I think I used a 12-inch one, but you can get them in 14-inch and 16-inch. But you also could have used one of the twig rings. I haven't got them handy here now. But remember last week I showed you these big twig rings that O'Neill's had, you know the way. What would be kind of made of a vine or something? Yeah. 20 inches, 22 inches, you know the way. So
and Charlie had
Charlie has
as well,
evergreen silk plants as well. So use one of them kind of like instead. Or Charlie has the straw wreaths. Like he has the whopper of the straw wreaths. Remember in the video, they're about 60 centimetres wide. So that girl that has the massive big hydrangeas, presuming you have loads of them, do you know the way? If you get one of them big straw wreaths from Charlie, will somebody tag him in the comments there, evergreen silk plants, okay? And again, you can purchase them from his website. So again, I'm moving my way up and I'm going to add in another little bit of spruce on top, another little bit of spruce underneath. It's not necessary to do that, by the way, but I'm just doing it because I have it and I just want to do it.
Just a reminder that we will be posting the competition for the toolbox over on Instagram later today. So if you do want to win that toolbox, I know when it came from O'Neill's, it was worth 150. It's probably worth over €200 now. Do you know what you reckon?
Now. And should I back the handling it?
This
My
is it.
My fingerprints are on it, so absolutely, it's well worth over 200 now.
And also, if anybody wants to enter our little competition, it's going today for the mechanics for making your own door swag.
You have to provide your own 6 hydrangeas. Okay?
Your own hydrangeas and your own bit of foliage. All you have to do is comment and let us know when is our next module 1 starting. So we said the date earlier on. Let me see. Mary has tagged. That's lovely actually.
There. So I have 4 heads in there so far. 1 small one and kind of like the bigger one.
Oh, Sinead is on today. Sinead has tagged Evergreen over on Facebook and Mary has tagged them over on Instagram.
We must have took her back on the books, didn't we?
This is it.
We had to give her our P45 because Celine was taking
And she's going to be on holidays now next week because she's coming over tomorrow, isn't she?
That's right. She's coming over tomorrow evening. So, I don't know, will we get her on live? Do you think she'll come on live?
We might get her on live on Friday. But, let me see. there was another question there about, Linda says that if we are going up to O'Neill's, that she doesn't live far away and she'll come down and give us a hand.
That's brilliant. I always need a picker-upper and a gopher. Go for this and go for that.
Let me see.
Or what did somebody say to me yesterday? A sweeper-upper.
Louise says, could she use the hydrangeas directly from the garden, or does she need to soak them overnight? She wants to get started today.
No, you can't use them straight from the garden. They'll die on you. They won't last. So you have to do, and you need to give them the good 12 hours in water. Do you know the way? And the longer the better, you know that way. So the more you condition them, because when they're off the bush, your hydrangea bush, they're not getting as much water into them as I know it's lashing rain in Dublin, do you know that way? But they're not getting as much water as what they take in through the petals. So there's our heads. As you can see, they're pretty close together, do you know the way? And I'm just going to finish off the end here now with just a little bit of spruce, and I'm just going to cut my rope a little bit shorter. So the ropes that we'll send out, I don't know what length they were. I just got my dad to cut them up into lengths. And you know, Dad, he's dead neat. He puts a little bit of tape and everything at the end of them just to make sure that they don't unravel. So I'm just going to cut that part there now.
Tanya said she loved your pink hat at Garth Brooks, that she actually saw you, but she was too shy to come over.
You should have came over. You see Roisin came over. We got a photograph of her all. Listen, I don't bite. When you meet me in real life, I'm exactly the same. Gin and tonic for me, gin and slimline tonic for Deirdre. No, you should have come over. There was no bother. The hats were great, weren't they? Only €10 outside Croke Park. They were brilliant, they were. Now, I have some kind of like organzas. I'll probably go for this dark one. So these are kind of the colours that I happen to have here. Again, I know Evergreen Silk Plants has organzas, so has O'Neill's. But listen, you might see something else like a ribbon that you fancy, or you might have a little bit of fabric around the house that you could make a bow. So what I'm going to do...
Sorry.
There we go.
Somebody's ringing, which means the sound is probably going to go.
Hopefully now, this is always what happens. If somebody rings that phone there when we're going live, so let us know. Have you lost the sound?
Don't know.
Probably you have.
Don't know.
Obviously you can't hear me now, but you just have. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get 2 strips of the organza bow together. I'm going to make our little bow. So that
sound is gone.
Collar bow. That always happens once that phone rings, unfortunately, and we're trying to work it out. Does anybody have any obviously this is anybody on Instagram now, have you any tips that can you turn off phone calls but still keep the Wi-Fi? Do you know that way? Where I know we could go into airplane mode, but what happens then is we've no Wi-Fi on the phone. So is there a way, has anybody any ideas of a little trick that we could do to be able to still keep a signal? Do you know that we still keep...
They're all saying the sound is gone and they can't lip read. I can hear the sound on TikTok, they can hear the sound on YouTube, they can hear the sound. I think on Instagram you can hear the sound.
Sinead, will you put it in the comments there, what's after happening there? Do you know that way on that Facebook page? I respond to a few of them there and just kind of like let them know. Because there's no point, I'm nearly finished, so there's no point in me starting and kind of like starting another video really at this stage. It's unfortunate. So there's our little bow there. I just used the normal kind of like florist ribbon for tying it up. And I'm just going to tie this here at the end. So just a kind of a double knot at the back. And then you can always tie and make a little loop with your ribbon then for actually hanging it on the door if you want. There we go. So there's our little, just want to turn it around there. There's our little swag. And we'll just straighten them ones up. And a little twist on it.
That's lovely, actually, it's gorgeous.
And there's your little swag for hanging on your door. And then hydrangeas will all just dry out if you've conditioned them the way I've explained. That lady who said she was going to use them straight from the garden, they won't dry out, they'll just die and they'll all kind of shrivel up.
Liam McAvoy says over on Facebook, she says she's tying that bow and she's saying to be sure, to be feckin' well sure, because they can't hear you.
Listen, goodbye. I'm waving now to all the other ones. Don't forget. Oh, what about the winners? You'll have to put the winners in the comments.
I will. I'll put the winners in the comments. Our winners were Catherine Martin, Pickard 5076, Natalie Ganghale, GHANNGHAILE. I must pick words that I can actually say. And Jennifer Morgan. So there are 4 winners. So if you're watching on YouTube, Instagram, or TikTok, well, it may be you. If you're watching on Facebook, we'll put the comments in the, or we'll put the winners in the comments.
So send us an email with your address and we'll send that out to you. info@flowerschoolireland.com. Talk to you all very soon. Goodbye, good luck, see you soon.